Grab some 2x2s to increase your bathroom storage in a few easy steps. I cut 4 2x2s to 6 feet each and cut 6 to 19 inches, and I cut another 6 to 4 inches each. I sanded all the boards, then used my Craig jig to drill pocket holes in each side of the smallest 2x2. I secured the 4-inch boards to the 19-inch boards with pocket screws and wood glue to make a rectangle. I repeated this 2 more times to end up with 3 rectangles. I marked down 2 inches from the top of each 6-foot 2x2 and used a countersink bit to pre-drill the long 2x2 to the rectangle frame. I filled the screw holes with wood filler on the front side only and sanded the excess off smooth once dry. I wiped, cleaned, and painted the frame with Benjamin Moore color wrought iron. While that was drying, I sanded cedar 1x6 boards, ripped them down to size, and sealed them with 2 coats of polyurethane. I used a brad nailer to secure the cedar boards to the top of each rectangle base and slid the shelf over my toilet for the most modern functional bathroom storage. I absolutely love how this turned out, and it can be completely customized for your bathroom. I hope this inspired you to create your own beautiful storage for over the toilet.
Have a small bathroom with a pedestal sink and limited storage? I have a cheap, easy solution for you. First, I measured the distance from the edge of the toilet to the edge of the sink. Then, I measured to make sure that the shelf wouldn't stick out much further than the sink and that the height was what I was looking for as well. I found this bathroom shelf that fit perfectly from IKEA for under $10. After assembling my shelf, I put it in place. Next, I measured the distance from the shelf to the wall and then measured to make sure it wasn't too crammed over the toilet. Then, I took my measurements to Home Depot and had them cut 2 pieces of wood. I also grabbed some stain and some brackets. Next, I stained my wood, let it dry, and wiped off the excess. After it was dry, I sealed it with polyurethane to protect from water spills. Next, I installed my brackets onto the wood and attached it to the wall. I did it like this because it was such a tight space.
Yeah.
Following that, I glued the smaller piece of wood onto the installed top and let that dry. If you are cutting the wood yourself, you can cut this all in one piece and skip this step, but they could only cut straight cuts at Home Depot. I then added a bracket to the side for extra stability. I measured and found these perfect bins in my local dollar store. They are actually flower pots that once I removed the insert became the perfect size bin. I then organized by hair, skin, and fragrances. Next, I grabbed some mixed baskets to organize the existing shelves. The big one was great for a first aid kit and shaving kit. I added my straighteners and other miscellaneous items in the others. I finished off the look by adding an inexpensive hook from IKEA that I already had lying around for a hand towel and some accents to personalize the space. I never thought my tiny bathroom could ever be this organized. I now have easy access to everything and my mornings just became almost stress-free. I now have a place to put my makeup on and I know exactly where everything is. I hope this inspires you to get creative and solve a tight space problem in your home.
Alright guys, so I have my shutter here. This was actually a longer shutter and I cut it in half just because I didn't want such a big long shelf. So this is about 44.5 inches in length. But obviously you can do this project with any shutters that you can find. And you can make it any length you want. We're going to give this shutter a fresh coat of paint, and I'm using Country Chic paint in the shade Fairy Ring. I've linked in the material list the Country Chic website. So the best part about this project is you guys can pick out whatever color that you like that would suit your bathroom that you already have. So we're just gonna add a coat of paint here. And while you guys are just tuning in, make sure you let me know where you're watching from, because I am watching along on the premiere episode with you, and I'm answering any questions that you guys have in the comments. So feel free to pop any of those questions down below. Now, the good thing that I love about Country Chic paint is I don't need to do a ton of coats. So one coat is gonna do this whole shutter. I get great coverage with it. And I just love the nice rich colors that are available from Country Chic paint. And again, all the materials for this project are in the material list that is linked above the comment section here, okay? And as well, you guys, don't forget to hit that follow button up above the comment section so that you get notified every time I do a Hometalk TV episode. I would love to have you guys following along because I have a lot of really great projects coming up this month. So I'm just going to do a couple of chunks of this shutter here just so you guys can see how great the coverage is. And you can see that I'm getting really, really nice coverage here. So one coat will do it. Now, since I cut my shutter in half, I actually have another half piece that's already done. So I'm going to move this aside and bring in the one that's already done. All right, so this is my piece that is painted and already dry. You can see here that I did a little bit of dry brushing. There's some dimension and difference in the color. I did the fairy ring, but I wanted some more dimension, so I dry brushed over with vanilla frosting over top of the fairy ring, just to add in this nice rustic touch. And I feel like I want to make it just a little bit more rustic and just define these edges a little bit. So I'm going to be using gray wax from Country Chic paint. And if you guys have never used wax before, it's a really easy way to add that rustic charm to your pieces. So all I do is I just take a lint-free cloth, dip it in the wax, and then I just rub the wax on whatever edge I want to add a little bit of dimension. The one thing you want to make sure is that your paint is fully dry before you apply the wax. So let your paint dry for at least 12 hours before putting on any waxes or finishes. So I'm just going to rub a bit of this on here to give you guys the idea of what it can do for your piece. So when you guys are rubbing the wax in, you can put it on and then leave it for a bit if you want it to be darker. But if you really want to work it in so that it's just very light, just take a clean piece of your lint-free cloth and really work it into your piece. I love the wax because it's so easy to use. You just rub it in wherever you want it. And I find it easy to work with when you use a cloth. Some people prefer a wax brush, but I'll leave that up to you guys. And you can let me know if you've worked with wax before. Let me know if you prefer a cloth or a wax brush or how you do it. And if you guys have any questions, don't forget to pop those in the comments, because I am watching along with you on the premiere episode. All right, so I'm just going to do a little bit more here. And again, I can always let this dry and then come back to it after and see if I want to add any more. Sometimes I like to let things sit a little bit before I go too cuckoo and add too much. So we're going to leave that for now, and we are going to move on to applying the part that's actually going to turn this into a shelf. All right, so to make this into a shelf, what I have here is I just have some rustic brackets. And again, don't forget, guys, I have a full material list of everything that I'm using or somewhat similar materials so that you can make this yourself. And what we want to do, we want to make sure that when we mount these brackets onto our shutter, that we mount the short end onto the shutter and leave the longer end for the shelf to sit on. And what I'm going to do is, why I like using a shutter for this is because it's very easy, because I can line up my brackets right to the edge of this longer piece so that I know when I put my other bracket down at this end that they're going to be even. So I just line it up, and I'm lining it up just under this lip here of the shutter. Maybe I'll move this over so you guys can see a little bit. And then we're going to take the screws, and again, these screws just came with the brackets. So we're just going to screw this in here. top and bottom. Now that one at the top is a little bit harder to get to, so it helps to have a longer bit. All right, you guys, and then I also have these fun little hooks that I figured would work nice for towels. And I have 4 of them, and we're just gonna place them down along the bottom edge of our shelf. So I've linked hooks that I found that are somewhat similar. I got these locally, but you can feel free to get creative with this step and choose whatever kind of hooks you like that suit your style. So for these hooks, before you start going crazy and drilling holes, I did some measurements and I marked out even measurements on where I wanted to place them. And then I just, with a little pencil, marked it out. And then I even went as far as to set my hooks into place to make sure that everything looked symmetrical. So then, once you have your hooks where you want them to go, just screw them in. So while I'm doing this, make sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think about this DIY, if you're excited to try it. And don't forget to follow me here on Hometalk. And as well, I also am on all social media, and you can find me on with the handle @HolyGraceBlog on Facebook and Instagram. And I really hope that you guys will follow along and join me on all my other sites and pages. So now I've attached all my 4 hooks there. And sorry you guys, my shelf is so long you can't see the end there, but I'm going to show you how it all looks when it all comes together. So now that we have our hooks on, the last thing we have to do is attach our shelf on the top of these brackets. What I am using is some old salvage wood that I just have kicking around. I always collect some of these rustic finds. I keep it laying around. And this actually is tongue and groove, so it fits together quite nicely. If you can't find anything like this, you can just go to Home Depot and get them to cut you some wood, some shelving wood that would fit onto your brackets, and then you can paint it whatever color you like. So maybe in the comments you guys can let me know what you will use for your top shelf piece. So I just set my first piece down, and then we're going to screw in our screw here. All right, so when we go to attach our shelf to the top brackets, you want to make sure that if you're doing multiple pieces of board that you do one at a time. And you'll see that I'm using a screwdriver for this part. My wood is very rustic and old, so I don't want to split it, so I'd rather just do it with a screwdriver than my drill. It might be a little bit too powerful. And then once we have the first slat in, we're going to put our second one in. Now again, if you're using one piece of wood cut to fit the full length of the bracket, you don't need to do it this way. You can just go and do it all at once. But I would suggest for you guys to keep your eye out for old rustic barn board or anything like that, because it does give this shelf that true farmhouse character and charm. I really do hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope that it inspires you to add a little bit of farmhouse decor on a budget to your home.